It's that time again. How are you doing? I'll tell you how we're doing. Hot. Here on the south coast of England, 22 centigrade, 71 Fahrenheit. It's 7 o'clock in the morning and it is hot. 56% humidity, 1018 millibars, and the flag is not doing anything. It's hanging around the pole doing nothing at all. We got up early to go and see a steam engine. We went round to Central Crossing Gates. We waited, and then we heard an engine. Now, the trouble is, it didn't sound like a steam engine, it sounded like a diesel engine. Few people there with their cameras at the gates all waiting, and then it came along. It was a diesel engine, one at the front, one at the back. Disappointing. I mean, great fun anyway, but disappointing. There was a little lad there, about 5 years old. He hadn't seen a steam engine before, and his mum was telling him about it, and I was saying to him that when I was your age, they were quite common. We didn't take any notice. Steam engines were going all the time. It was nothing new. Anyway, this diesel engine went past, and his face, well, was that it? He looked disappointed, is that it? Well, I'm not impressed. Poor little chap. But apparently they're going to the Bluebell Railway, so he can have a look at proper steam engines up there. They may have decided not to run the steam engine because you probably know sparks come flying out of the funnel and they set fire to dry grass by the track. Trackside fires in the old days were not at all uncommon. You'd often see fires in fields by the track, and of course once it gets hold of fire it's very difficult to put it out. It spreads so quickly. So that's probably the reason that they decided not to run the steam engine. Everywhere is so dry. We haven't had rain for such a long time. And the last thing they want, of course, are trackside fires all over the place, because then no trains could run at all. I've put a little video on. If you go to rants.info, I've put a little video on of the train going past, the diesel engines, which might interest you. It might not. It might bore you. Also in the video, my trail cam picked up something interesting in the night. It's after the trains. I think there are 3 video clips of the trains, one taken by me, one taken by Trish, one taken by her sister. So we've got 3 video clips of the trains. Then the garden at night. I think it was 2:30 in the morning, 2:35 in the morning. Have a look at that, rants.info. Just go to the video page and you'll see it there at the top. So rants.info, go to the video page, and there it is. Okay, let's go back to school. I failed the 11 plus exam. I didn't know it was the 11 plus exam. We went in and the teacher was mumbling on about something. She probably said, right, this is the 11 plus, there's your exam papers, but I wasn't listening. I mean, why should I listen? It was all boring. So I failed. Having said that, had I known it was the 11 plus exam, I would have failed anyway, because I wasn't interested in any of it. So I went to a secondary modern school for boys, and I will never forget my first day there. Now, I was emailing. Hello, Ray, if you're listening. We were emailing back and forth about this, about being scared of going to work, scared of going to school. I wasn't so much scared of going to the big school, because it wasn't for children. It was the big school. I was 11, coming up to 12. But there was a problem. I don't know why I did it. I don't know what possessed me. Out of the 600 boys at this school, how many were wearing short trousers? 1 boy. You can guess who that was, can't you? Me. Idiot me. I wore short trousers. I don't know why. I don't know whether my mother said I should wear short trousers. I don't know what happened. Of course, I was laughed at, pointed at. Oh, look at it. Oh, look, short trousers. That was my first day at big school. Disaster. Excruciatingly embarrassing. I hated it. That was not the best start for secondary school. After that disastrous day, of course, I wore long trousers. It was soon forgotten, and that was the end of that. But that first day at school was just, I don't know. I will never forget that for as long as I live. I'm mentioning this because, do you remember I said about being scared going to work? Was that last Sunday? People scared on their first day at work. They didn't want to go to work. And according to some survey, was it 18 to 24-year-olds, half of them are scared of going to work. They don't want to go to work, having left school. In my day, we were just so keen to get out of the place. Let's leave school. Let's earn some money. I was very lucky. I know I've told you this before. I was very lucky. Well, at the time, unlucky. I ruptured my liver when I was 14. I was coming up to my 15th birthday. The school summer holiday was due, so obviously I didn't go back to the school. And I remember my mother saying after the school holiday, there's no point in going back to school, you're going to leave at 16. So I went to work. And that, looking back, although it was dreadful at the time, obviously it ought to rupture your liver really. It hurts, I can tell you that. But looking back, that was a godsend. I got out of I nearly swore then, I got out of school. It was dreadful at school, so I got out of it. I knew a couple of the lads that worked in this radio and TV workshop, so I knew them, I could chat to them, and all the other lads there were great. And I just never looked back. I've had quite a few emails and messages from people saying they were scared to go to work, they didn't like the first day at work. I suppose that's quite normal, isn't it? You're apprehensive, you're not sure what to expect. In my case, I was just so pleased to get school behind me. Moving on, I was about, 18, I suppose. This chap I knew said, I'm a member of a club, why don't you come and join us? So I said, OK, what's that about? Oh, just come down and join us. He told me where it was, in a hotel bar, one of the big hotels on the seafront. So I went there at the appointed time and day, and there he was. I chatted to him. There were several other people there all milling around in the bar, all about my age. He started chatting to someone else, so I wandered up to the bar and stayed there, got myself a beer, and this girl started talking to me. She was quite attractive, quite friendly, so we got chatting. And she said, have you ever had a girlfriend? And I thought that a bit of an odd question, so I said, yes. And she said, oh, you've had a girlfriend then? She said, I haven't had a boyfriend. And I thought, this is a bit strange. She's what, my age, 18, 19, something like that. Never had a boyfriend. So I said, why is that? Why haven't you ever had a boyfriend? And she explained that she wasn't very good with people. She didn't mix very well. And I said, well, you're chatting to me, all right? And she went on about I'm easy to chat to and all this business. I went and put my foot in it. I said, actually, I've had several girlfriends over the years. And she said, oh, well, what are you doing here then? I said, well, a friend of mine suggested I come down. And she said, but if you've had several girlfriends. Anyway, it transpired that it was a singles club. I didn't know that. I said to her, look, do you want to get out of here? Shall we go to a pub? I don't like hotel bars. Shall we go to a proper pub? Oh, yes, she said. She was quite eager. So we left there, walked to this pub, which was down the road, and we got on very well. So I went out with her for quite some time. I can't remember how long, a few weeks, a few months, which really pleased her because at last she'd had a boyfriend. We just sort of drifted apart in the end. I did see my friend a few days afterwards. I told him off. I said, fancy inviting me to a singles club. I don't need to go to a singles club to meet people, He just laughed. I was about to say lesson learned, but there was another chap that I knew. He said, oh, there's a place in Brighton you want to go to. He said, it's great. It's sort of a pub come club. It's really nice. I was in the workshop at the time, and this other chap I was with, he said, shall we go over there and have a look this Friday? I said, yeah. OK, we'll do that. So we went over to Brighton, the two of us, found this bar come club, whatever it was, this pub. Went in there, went up to the bar, ordered a couple of beers. We're looking round. Oh, this is all right. Music's all right. And he said to me, where's all the girls? I looked round and there aren't any girls. It's all lads. That's odd. And the barman was a bit strange. Anyway, it turned out, I won't go into any more detail because I just won't say any more. But it turned out it was a gay bar for gay men. And there's us two standing there. Someone came over and started chatting me up. We didn't even finish our beer. We just left and found some other pub. But that was a trick. This chap at work, when we saw him the next day, had a right go at him, sending us to a gay bar. Happy days. Girls don't like boys. Girls like cars and money. Do you know that? Who did? Was it not the Charlatans? Charlotte or something? Girls don't like boys. Girls like cars and money. I heard that the other day on the radio. Yes, I do listen to the radio, unlike most people. And it reminded me of something that happened back in the either late 60s or early 70s. There was a group of us having a chat. And there was a couple in the group that had been going out together for about a year. And the girl wanted to get married and have children. The lad didn't. What were we, 18, I suppose? The lad didn't. He said, I don't want to get married, have children. Yeah, later on, let's enjoy life first before we do all that. And this girl really wanted to get married. She really wanted to have kids, settle down, have a home. They split up in the end because he just didn't want that. But it got everyone in the group talking. And one of the lads said to the girls, there must have been half a dozen girls there, he said, OK, you lot, what do you want out of a relationship? You know, what are you looking for? And of course, all the girls started talking at once, as girls do. Someone said, no, one at a time. And all of them, bar one, all of them said, well, I want to get married. I want to have a home. I want to get married and have children. Now, bear in mind, back then, the boys had been at school conditioned, trained or whatever, brainwashed to be factory workers. The girls had been brainwashed or whatever to be housewives and mothers and doing the cooking and the sewing. That's the way it was then. I know now that offends people, but I can't help that because that's the way it was back then. So the girls all wanted to get married and have children and become housewives and all this stuff. Except for one girl. She said, I don't want any of that. I can't say what she said exactly. I don't want any of that. I want to build up my career. I think she worked in an office. I'm not sure what she did, but she worked in an office. She wanted to climb the ladder. She said, I want all that when I'm in my 30s, certainly not now. And she was the only girl that wanted a career before marriage and children. I just found that interesting. And funnily enough, other people in the pub had heard this. They were listening. And the chap behind the bar, the landlord and the girl working behind the bar, they joined in. Other people started joining in, other couples sitting at tables. And just about every girl in there, except for this one, said, I want to get married and have children. Girls don't like boys, they like cars and money. That's these days, isn't it? Back then, also, what was the other one? Cyndi Lauper? Girls just want to have fun. Back then, it seems they wanted to get married. So how things have changed over the years, the decades. I think we were conditioned, perhaps that's the way to put it, at school. As I said, the girls were taught domestic science, housekeeping, cooking, sewing, all that sort of stuff. The boys were in the metal workshop operating lathes, the wood workshop. They were being conditioned, trained to work in factories. After that evening, that huge discussion in the pub, if I asked a girl out and she said, yes, I'll go out for a drink with you or to a club or wherever, all my thoughts were on, what does she want? Does she want marriage and children? I was 18, 19 years old. I didn't want that. I was free, single, footloose and fancy free. I didn't want children. Later on, yes, but not then. But of course, every time I went out with a girl, that's what I thought. In my mind, I was thinking, is she looking at me as a potential husband, a potential father to her children? I don't know. That's interesting, though, because, as I said, how things have changed. These days, youngsters seem to want to, well, the girls anyway, seem to want to have a career, don't they? They want a career. I suppose the boys do as well. Girls don't want to be lumbered in their teens with a baby and housework, stuck at home with all that. I suppose some do, but in the main, I think that girls want a career. They want to earn money. And I know quite a few youngsters, or have known over the recent years, they're buying their own flat. You know, the girl on her own just buying her own flat. She's climbing the ladder at work. She's earning money. She's going on holiday, seeing the world, not getting herself tied down with children. So many people, it seems, are having children later on in their 30s or whenever. My mother had me when she was 17. That happened quite a lot back then. Young girls, they got married, they had children, or had children then got married. Whichever way round it was. Whereas now, people don't want that. They're waiting till much, much later on in life. I just remembered it was Good Charlotte that sang that song. We used to call them records, didn't we? They're not called records anymore. Good Charlotte. Girls don't like boys. Girls like cars and money. Just going back to the girl I met at the singles club. She wanted to get married, build a home, build a nest, have children. I made it clear from the outset that I wasn't the one for that. Not at that age anyway, I was too young. But that's what she wanted, which is quite interesting. She didn't want to go out with lots of different boys to try to find the right one. She was hoping the first one she bumped into would be the right one, which was me, of course, and I was the wrong one. I've got the window open. Very, very hot today. It's something like 35 degrees outside at the moment, centigrade that is. So if you double that to, 35, that's 70, add 30, That's 100, isn't it? 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Moving on. I think I told you we went out for lunch. Yes, I did. We went out for lunch to this pub. They've changed the name of it to the Castle. I think it was the Golden Lion or the Red Lion. It's now the Castle. Now, you know I've banged on about this before, pubs changing their names. We already have a pub in the town called the Castle. So now it's going to be confusing if someone says, I'm going to pop into the Castle tonight for a beer if you want to meet me there. The Castle, which one? It's pathetic, isn't it? Why on earth do they do that? Leads me on nicely to Barry's email. Barry lives in a village, and he said a year ago, I've got the window open, by the way, I told you, didn't I? So ignore bangs and clattering about and cars. Barry said a year ago they lost their village pub. It closed down. Various reasons. Tax on drinks, tax on alcohol, bills soaring. Do you know, I did know this, Barry. Barry says we have the most expensive electricity in the world. 4 times the price of America. So in America, if your electricity bill is £100, our equivalent is 400 for the same amount of electricity. Absolute rip-off Britain. As Barry said, there were various reasons that the pub closed. A pint of beer, a third of the price you pay goes to tax to the government, and they just waste that, of course, they throw that away. Now, he worked there, he did lunchtimes there and a few evenings because he's retired, so he filled in now and then. At 12 o'clock every day, without fail, this elderly lady popped in, midday, 12 o'clock, half a pint of Guinness, sat there. Sometimes a friend of hers would come in, or 2 friends. They'd have their sherry. Old ladies like sherry, don't they? Of course, the pub closed. That's all finished. This old lady's got nowhere to go now. There were a couple who walked their dog every lunchtime, then went into the pub, had a cup of coffee and a sandwich. Of course, that's gone. Now, what Barry was saying was he very rarely sees this elderly lady, the Guinness lady, or the couple with the dog. They go off walking in the woods. He doesn't see them, particularly the old lady with her Guinness. She lives in a cottage down the road, he was saying, and she doesn't go out anymore. She used to go to the village stores. That, he says, has recently closed. That's this year, it's closed. And in the village stores was a post office. So they've lost the pub last year, this year, the village stores and the post office. You haven't said where you are, Barry. Perhaps that's deliberate. I wouldn't have mentioned it anyway, even if you had said where you are. But this is what's happening all over the country. Pubs are closing, apparently, 1 a day. 1 a day. I heard this on the news recently. Post offices have all gone. We used to have one round the corner, one down the road. They've gone. We have one in town, the big main post office. That's gone. I don't know what's happening. Oh, yes, also on the news now. Second-class mail. We have first and second here in Britain. Second-class mail will no longer be delivered on Saturdays. And I think I've got this right. They're talking about delivering every other day in the week. So it's got to be first-class mail, which is very expensive to get your letter there. And even then, it doesn't guarantee to get it there on time. So everything is closing down. But Barry's point was in his lengthy email, Barry, very lengthy. I actually got the computer to read it out to me. I've said this before, haven't I? So I don't have to sit there reading. I make the computer do it for me. Mind you, that's what I was going on about the other day, isn't it? We'll all become lazy with AI and things. No, seriously, Barry was saying that it wasn't just a pub in the village. It was like a meeting place. A place for a cup of coffee. A place for a chat. A place to meet. Now that's gone, people don't meet each other. He goes on to say that he reckons the decline of the pub as we used to know it, the good... What's that? Someone's blasting a horn out there now. Idiot! Sorry. He reckons the decline in pubs started many decades ago when we had your typical British, typical English pub. They started selling food. I think the government said you've got to sell food, something like bangers and mash. You know, sausage and mashed potato, because you get these heavy drinkers and they do need some food inside them to soak up the booze, I suppose, I don't know. So they started doing that. And of course, what with the tax on alcohol and rising costs, a lot of pubs eventually turned into restaurants. The pub we went to the other day, that was a pub. It's now a restaurant. You don't get people standing at the bar during the evenings or lunchtime anymore. In the evenings in a pub, all the people standing along the bar, all the regulars, the locals, having a few beers, having a good old chat, putting the world to rights. That's gone. They're not pubs anymore as such. They're restaurants. You go in, you sit at a table. You could go up to the bar and get a drink. Then you go and sit at a table. And on the table is like a wooden box, and in there there's salt, pepper, ketchup, brown sauce, knives and forks, a menu. It's a restaurant. And of course, when they're busy, they have tables booked in the evening. You've got to move. Go on, out of it. We've got this table booked. We've got a couple coming in for a meal. So you can't even sit at a table now on a busy night. It's not a pub anymore. And you're quite right, Barry. I think that was the decline, or the beginning of the end, if you like, of the typical good old British English type pub. They don't exist. Well, there are one or two around, obviously, but in the main they don't exist anymore. They're closing, one every day. Isn't that amazing? Oh, I nearly forgot. Barry's last question was, did I ever go to anywhere other than a pub or a nightclub? I did, Barry. I went once to... There goes a car. Sorry about this, but I've got to have the window open. It is so hot. It really is hot. Massive heat wave this weekend. I went once to the local sailing club down on the seafront, not far from where I live. This is in my teens again. Someone suggested I might want to go and have a look down there. They reckon it's quite good. The bar was pretty cheap. So I went down there. It was awful. It was dreadful. There's all these sailing types talking about yachts and ticks and, no, not ticks, tacks. What do they do? Tack and all this stuff. It was great for them. You know, if you're into sailing, it was lovely for them, but it wasn't for me. I did start chatting to a girl there. Actually, I knew her, funnily enough. I knew her. She lived down the road from me. I got chatting to her, and she was introduced me to her friends. Oh, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. Oh, hello, do you go sailing? What sort of yacht have you got? Oh, dear, that wasn't me at all. I also went, I don't know why, because I don't play tennis, I went to the tennis club. We had a local tennis club, again in my teens. I just went to have a look, and that was awful. It's all tennis types. Well, obviously it would be, wouldn't it? They're all yachting types down the sailing club, and they're all tennis types at the tennis club. I suppose they would be. I'm losing my voice again. I think it's this heat, probably the pollen as well. So I didn't fit in there at all. So to answer your question, Barry, I did try a couple of other things, but I went back to the pub and the nightclubs in the end. Because that, in my day, in the 60s, the nightclubs, that's where it was at. As we used to say, that's where it was at. Another email just arrived from Mike. Hello, Mike. I was talking about the future, wasn't I, the other day, as opposed to the past. Mike says, I don't like the look of the future, but there's not much I can do about it. He says, my son and his wife, they're moving to Australia. That must be nice. It's nice and hot out there, isn't it, Rob, if you're listening? Nice and hot out there. Well, not at the moment, it's your winter. So Mike says his son and his daughter-in-law and their couple of kids, they're moving out to Australia. He says his daughter wants to go and live in Spain. And as he puts it, she's making plans to move out there. And his wife wants to leave. He says, I'm not leaving. He says, I'm going to stay here. I'm too old to leave. I am, Mike. I wouldn't want to start moving now to another country. You know, I don't even want to move house, let alone move to a different country. But he says his wife wants to go. She wants to go down to Spain. And you list many, many reasons, Mike. I won't go through them all, but the weather obviously is one reason. Mind you, at the moment, we've got this heat wave. It's hotter here than it is in Athens, apparently. Someone said on the news earlier. It's not just the weather, though. It's tax. It's everything. A way of life, the whole lot. You've got a list you've done here, Mike. And I've heard this before many times. People, especially younger people, seem to be leaving the country. It's such a shame, isn't it? We've lost pubs. We've lost the village pub. We've lost the little village communities. All the villages, you know, they're building all around them, aren't they? They're being swamped by local towns. They're all being sucked up. And the village life, as people knew it, is disappearing. I suppose that's what they call progress. Not what I'd call progress at all. It's change. Change happens. I suppose our forefathers, going back hundreds of years, complained, oh, look, we've got motor cars now. Oh, look, we've got bicycles. We don't want these bicycles. What's wrong with horses? We don't want bicycles. And as Mike says, there's nothing we can do about it. But it is a shame, though, that so many youngsters are moving away. I've heard this time and time again. Of course, my son and his wife and their children, they live in America. They moved out there years ago. and they're loving it. It is rather nice with the window open. There's a slight breeze. I'm looking at the flag. Little breeze, funnily enough, from the east. I don't know why we keep having these east winds and breezes. The cherry trees just sort of floating around in the breeze, which is nice. I was out in the garden early this morning. I'm extending our roof down by the sheds. I won't go into that. I'm putting a corrugated roof between two sheds to keep the wet out of there in the winter so we can store things there. I got too hot. I was out there at 8 o'clock. In fact, before 8 o'clock, I went to the builders' merchants at 7 when they opened, got some corrugated plastic and bits of wood and things. I got too hot. I had to finish at 9:30. The heat does affect me rather badly, so since 9:30 I've been staying indoors. Talking of the heat, they keep on on the television and the radio. In 1976 we had that heat wave. I remember 1976, it was very, very hot. In the workshop it was 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Goes another car. It was very hot. In fact, it reached over 100 at one stage, over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Very hot, but we didn't have all this on the TV about warning, you must drink a lot, you must stay out of the sun, you must put on factor 50 and all this business. People were sensible. Perhaps they're not sensible anymore, I don't know. But people were sensible back then. Well, some of them were, not all of them. I don't know, we've had this before, we've had all this heat. Other people keep saying, look, it's summer. It's what we used to call summer. Okay, forget all the amber and the yellow warnings and all this business. It's summer. It's as simple as that. And I'm enjoying it. I know it's very, very hot and I don't do well in the heat, but I am enjoying it. The only thing is at night, and I'm sure everyone agrees there, at night, if the room you're in is like 25 centigrade, what's that, 50, that's 80 Fahrenheit. That's too much at night, too much. We have the windows open, all the windows open. The trouble is we've got seagulls. Everywhere, seagulls. Foxes screaming, seagulls screaming. The birds start singing their dawn chorus at 3 o'clock. It's like living in the middle of a jungle. Imagine all the jungle noises at night, monkeys and crickets and wailings and that going on. It's like that. So you either put up with that or shut the window and roast. But I do love it. We're off to the club tonight as it's Friday. We're going up there. Not a music quiz, it's the general knowledge quiz, which I'm absolutely hopeless at, totally, utterly useless. But it's good fun though. Go up there, have a couple of beers, have a chat with people. I meant to mention this before. The last time we were there, I was chatting to a bloke and he said, you're about my age. Do you remember the old sayings we used to have? Wind your neck in. I remember that, wind your neck in. Who wants to know? You might say to someone, you going to the pub tonight? Who wants to know? Or wind your neck in. Or wind your neck in. Or who pulled your chain? That was one that when I first heard it when I went to work, during my first week at work, who pulled your chain? I just laughed. I thought that was hilarious. Well, I would. I mean, I was a kid, wasn't I? I was 15. I just thought that was hilarious. And then that developed into who pulled your chain? Toilet face. Toilet face. Happy days. They were happy days and I do miss them. Now, of course, we don't say anything. Don't say anything. You might get arrested. So yes, we're off to the club tonight. We've got the weekend coming up. I shall be out very early tomorrow morning, probably 6 o'clock, annoy the neighbours, finish off my corrugated roof. It's corrugated plastic. Can you hear my chair squeaking? I think what I've done, I've wound the audio level up too much and you can hear everything. You can probably hear people in the next street. I'll soon get the computer all sorted. Well, my son will. I won't. He's good at all that. I'm hopeless at all that. So we'll soon get that sorted, which will be nice. Just going back to girls wanting to get married and have babies and build a home and all that sort of thing. I used to get on I still do. I get on very well with women. And back then in my teens, I got on very well with girls. They weren't all girl friends. Well, they were literally friends. I wasn't, going out with them all. I had quite a few girl friends. And some people thought that rather odd. Very often a chap would say to me, oh, she's nice. What's she like? Oh, yeah, I've known her a few months. Yeah, she's a nice girl. And they were quite surprised that we weren't actually, what do they call it these days, an item or something? I don't know what we called it back then, but we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, if you see what I mean. There's something ticking now, dinging or something. Do you know, in the night I was woken up, something was going beep, beep, and a little bit later, beep, beep. I don't know what it was. Beep, beep. I don't know what's going on. So many things beep these days. But I used to just enjoy chatting to the girls. I did have quite a few girl friends, literally friends. As I've said many times before, over all the years I've been podcasting, what do people do these days? They all meet online, do they? Just going back to the future, as we were talking about the other day, what's going to happen when there are no pubs? How will people meet? It'll all be online, won't it? I suppose you'll ask the computer. Find me a partner. My interests are lazing around, doing nothing, not going to the pub because there aren't any, not going to a club because there aren't any, staying indoors. No, seriously, what's it going to be like for youngsters in the, well, not the future so much, but now? I mean, it's happening now, isn't it? Now what's going on? More cars. Quite a quiet road where we live. It's rather nice. It's quite a quiet road, not a busy thoroughfare. So I don't know what people are going to do. I suppose they'll just meet online, won't they? Then meet, what, in the local park? There's me saying it's a quiet road. We've got traffic building up now. Perhaps they'll meet outside the local supermarket or something. That's what kids used to do, isn't it? Do they still do that? They'd all go around to the local shop, the store, the corner shop, the supermarket on their bikes and all hang around the entrance so people couldn't get in or out of the shop. And the cops would turn up and tell them to clear off. Go, get out of it. Get off out of it. I didn't do that. I didn't hang around outside shops when I was young. I didn't see the point in it. Well, I don't think anyone did back then. I tell you what, my eyes are stinging. It's not pollen. I know what it is. It's not pollen. My eyes really are beginning to sting. It's onions. What are onions doing in your high-tech air-conditioned studio, you're asking yourself? Tricia is downstairs cooking. Her hobby is cooking, which is quite fortuitous because my hobby is eating. No, it's not. She's down there cooking and it's onions and my eyes are streaming now. It's awful. I really do get affected by onions. So I think I'll end it here. I might do a little bit more tomorrow as it's Saturday. I shall be out there early, doing my roof, sawing, hammering, banging, annoying the neighbours at 6 in the morning. I think they're used to me by now. It's a lovely day again. I'm not going out to do the roof. It's too hot already, even though it's early in the morning. At the club last night, we won the general knowledge quiz. I got one question right. When were cassette tapes introduced? Which decade? I said the 1960s, which was correct. I believe it was Philips that brought out the first cassette tape recorder. Philips. I remember them in the workshop in about 67, 68, something like that. So I got that question right. And we won the quiz. £24 between how many? 5 of us. That's all right. That goes towards the next visit to the club, so that's good. I'm not going to hang around much longer. I know you want me to rabbit on forever, but it is so hot already. We've got blue sky, a little bit of a little bit of an east wind again. Isn't that odd? It sounds as though we've got crickets in the garden. I think it might be a bird tweeting. We don't have crickets here. We just don't. Honestly, the foxes last night, they were screaming. 3 o'clock it was in the morning. We got the windows open. The foxes were screaming. I do know what they were doing. We won't go into that. But why do they make so much noise about it? Just get on with it quietly somewhere. Honestly, the noise. Don't forget to email me if you've anything to say. rants@protonmail.com. There's someone out the street blowing their horn again. I don't know why people have to do that. Keep cool if you're hot. If you're somewhere in the UK and you're getting hot, keep cool. Plenty of water. I know it's obviously common sense, but just drink plenty of water. I overheated yesterday, I really did. I got far too hot and I felt quite ill. Luckily I was okay. I had a sleep in the afternoon. You don't want to know that, do you? Me having a sleep in the afternoon. Then we walked up to the club. That was nice. They've got aircon in there. There goes another car. They've got aircon and it was really nice. Had a couple of beers, not too many. Don't like too many beers these days. Talking of being hot, I'll tell you where Tricia's sister and her husband have gone today. Hyde Park. London, Hyde Park, in this heat. They've gone to see ELO, Electric Light Orchestra. Probably fantastic, but the heat, I couldn't do it. I don't know what shade, well, if there is shade, obviously there are trees in the park, but they will be crowded with people. They'll all be trying to get under the trees. So it's not the sort of thing I would want to do. In the old days, yes. in my teens, early 20s, I would have gone up to Hyde Park to see a band playing or whatever, but not now. It's just too much. Okay, I shall love you and leave you. I shall see you on Wednesday with a midweek message. I've got the window open in here. It's rather cool. It's rather pleasant. Well, I say that, 26 degrees in here now. It's rising. Anyway, waffled enough. Be good, be bad, don't get caught and all that. If you're going to Hyde Park, well, this will be tomorrow. It's today. Hyde Park is Saturday today. I hope you enjoyed it and don't overheat. Look after yourselves and I'll see you Wednesday. Thanks for listening as always. Bye-bye for now.